Hello, everyone. This is another episode of Travel Talk. And today we're going to be talking about two airlines in the United States that you've probably never heard of. Let's go. So, there are two airlines in the US that most people have no idea exist. And they have no idea they exist because they've probably never flown them or they have no reason to fly them. But first, let's go back and look at the big airlines that everybody knows about. There's American Airlines, which is headquartered in Dallas, Texas, and they fly worldwide. And they have hubs in like JFK, Dallas, of course, Miami, Phoenix, and they have an operation in Los Angeles as well. And they also have a big hub in Chicago. The other airline everybody knows about is United. United has a hub in, well, maybe it's called alphabetic. Delta. Delta is based in Atlanta. That's where their headquarters is. And they have an operation, of course, in Atlanta. Their hub's in Atlanta. They used to have a big operation in Tokyo because they took over Northwest Airlines. And so they had a big operation in Tokyo, but now it's not as big as it used to be. It's a little toned down now. But that is but they do have an operation in Tokyo. And but the other places that have operations are Los Angeles. They used to be big in Portland, but I don't think they're as big as they used to be in Portland as well. And also, I think they also have some kind of mini operation in Seattle, and that's on the West Coast. Then, but their bigger operation is Minneapolis. That's where Northwest Airlines was based. Detroit, which is where Northwest Airlines also had a hub. And they used to have a hub in Memphis, but Memphis's call was dehubbed because Northwest had a big operations in Memphis. FYI, Memphis is one of the busiest airports in the United States because it has cargo. FedEx is based in Memphis. So the other one is Louisville. UPS is based in Louisville. So you have a lot of cargo operations. While we sleep, the cargo airplanes fly. And Anchorage is also the other airport that has a big cargo base. Now, Anchorage used to be a lot bigger, but now Boeing made this airplane called the 777. And then they made the 777 freighters. And because of those freighters, they don't have to stop in Anchorage anymore. They can do pretty much Asia to anywhere in the US with cargo. And so, but that's just a little background. I'm digressing. Sorry about that. So we're talking about Delta, and Delta has a JFK operation. American has a JFK operation as well. I think I did mention that. So Delta has a JFK operation. The other place that so we did Cincinnati. Cincinnati was a big hub for Delta, but it's not as big as it used to be. And so those are typically the big ones for Delta. Now, the other one is United. I'll get to Southwest in a sec. Because you hear the people talk about the big three. The big three are American, Delta, and United. United is headquartered in Chicago, but then they merged with Continental back in 2011, and the Continental name went away. There was also Continental Micronesia. So as a result, United has a hub in Guam, and that takes care of that part of the world. And they have it's not a big operation, but they do have an operation in Honolulu, and and lots of other airlines fly to Honolulu as well. But their big operations is Chicago, San Francisco, Houston, Denver, and they do have some type of hub in Los Angeles. I mean, actually, they're actually quite big in Los Angeles. And then I think that's about it. Newark on the East Coast is where they have their big hub. They used to have an operation in Cleveland, but they closed that a few years ago. And so that this big Terminal D in Cleveland, shut down, goes down. I don't know who's using it now. It might be Southwest, because Southwest was using C, I think. So they might be using D now, who knows? Or they might have turned D into a private jet terminal. I don't know what they've done with Terminal D. If you know, let me know. Leave a note below. So we talk about the big three. Now there's Southwest. Southwest Airlines is based in Dallas Love Field, not to be confused with Dallas Fort Worth, which is where American Airlines is based. And so they're in Dallas Love Field, and they are Southwest doesn't have hubs, they have focus cities. So they'll have stuff like Fort Lauderdale, Tampa, Orlando. Where else is Southwest focus? Baltimore, Midway, Oakland, as opposed to San Francisco. And Southwest used to just fly to the not so big cities. So they never flew us to San Francisco. They never went to Newark. But when United and I think United and Continental did the merger thing, they had to get us some slots. So I think they got some slots at Newark. So that's typical whenever mergers happen, because the Department of Transportation does not want it to be a monopoly on one airline, because that increases the fares. So then the airlines, when they merge, so let's say airline A has 10 flights out of one place, airline B has another 10. Well, if they merge, now they have 20. And so it becomes anti-competitive for the other airlines that are also serving that airport. So then there's your Southwest. Then there's JetBlue. And JetBlue does not have, they're based in New York. And so they're big focus city is what they call them. But their main hub is JFK. Terminal 5, I think, is what they fly out of. Then they're focused on Boston. They focus on, they do San Francisco. Of course, they do LA, the big city. And I think Fort Lauderdale is where the other one is. So still can't figure it out, can you? Then there is Spirit Airlines, and Spirit Airlines is based in Fort Lauderdale, and they have, focus cities around the country as well. But they don't really have a hub as such. They do point to point, so they get you from point A to point B. There's also Allegiant, which is another low-cost carrier, and they're based in Las Vegas, and they have, they just go little cities. There's also Sun Country. Sun Country is based in Minneapolis, and they are not as big either, but they're still a player. And so I think we've done American, Delta, United, what's the other one? We did JetBlue, Southwest, that's 5. Then we did Spirit, Sun Country. We should also talk about Allegiant, and we should talk about Frontier. Frontier is the airline that's based in Denver, and they also have the same focus city kind of pattern. But so we're missing 2, right? 2 big ones. But there's the 2 big ones that you never really hear about. Now, granted, in addition to all these big airlines, they have what's called feeder airlines, for want of a better term. So they go to the really tiny cities that, like 50-seater, 70-seater airplane. And, that's where you have the American Eagle. And you have, there's one called, there's a lot of them. There's GoJet. There's SkyWest, but there's a lot of there's Republic Airlines. There's a lot of little ones that feed the larger airlines, and they put Express or Eagle next to their names. So like in Florida, there's Envoy, and Envoy flies for American Eagle, and American Eagle is part of the American Airlines brand. And then there's Delta Connection, and for Delta Connection, there's a part of their brand is SkyWest. So that's how those little airlines work. However, though, there are 2 more airlines. Alaska Airlines is one of them. They are based in Seattle, and they basically take care of Alaska. So basically everywhere in Alaska that an airplane can fly, I think Alaska Airlines flies there. Although there are some smaller airlines that do service Alaska, like Reeve, that flies up into Alaska. And there's probably some more private ones that also flies there too. But then, so there's Alaska Airlines, and Alaska Airlines have Horizon Air, and Horizon Air is basically runs the smaller markets for Alaska Airlines, because Alaska Airlines fly. They just became an all-Boeing fleet again. They had taken over an airline called Virgin, I want to say Virgin Atlantic, but Virgin America is the one that was in America. But that airline, Alaska Airlines, merged with them, bought them out, and they're no longer in business. But Alaska Airlines had the fleet, so they took all the planes. And now the last plane, now Virgin had Airbuses, Alaska had Boeing. Alaska is based in Seattle. So obviously they're going to get Boeing airplanes. So they were an all Boeing fleet. They got in touch with Virgin. They merged, and now they no longer have the Boeing fleet. The Airbus fleet, because they got the last Airbus flew like this week, I think it was. And so now they're all Boeing again. But there's one more. Oh, Alaska also flies to Los Angeles, but they're basically based on the West Coast, which is why you typically never hear of them. They do fly to the East Coast. They go to Miami, they come to Houston, they go to New York, but they don't really, and they go to other places in Texas, but you don't see them much on this side of the world. But if you go on the left, the west side of the United States, they fly all up and down, the western seaboard. The other one is, can you guess? The other one is Hawaiian Airlines. Hawaiian Airlines is based in Honolulu, and they serve the Hawaiian market. They use Boeing 717s, which is what they fly within that area. And they're actually they're flying A330s now, and they fly to Australia a few days a week. They go to American Samoa, and so they're really a Pacific airline. But now they're getting 787s. By next year, they will have 787s in the fleet, so that'll be exciting. But they're based in Honolulu, and you never really heard of them. They also have a lot of Airbuses too that fly between Honolulu and the West Coast. To do like the LA, the San Francisco to Honolulu and things like that. But they do fly. Now, the reason why you should know about Alaska, Hawaiian Airlines is they fly the longest domestic route in the United States, which, can you guess? Honolulu to Boston. That's the longest domestic. But I think I read somewhere that they were going to stop that route. But I think the next one behind it is JFK, Honolulu JFK, and I think they're still going to do Honolulu JFK. So Hawaiian Airlines was the answer. That's the mystery airline, because you don't really hear about them, because unless you're like on the West Coast, if you're in like New York or Boston, then you have no reason to fly. You're going to Hawaii, you have no reason to fly Hawaiian Airlines. If you're on the West Coast, you would have heard about Hawaiian Airlines, because they have lots of flights from Hawaiian mainland, from the mainland US to Hawaii, which is a part of the United States. No passport visa required. If you're a citizen or have a residency in the US, you don't need any visa or anything to go there. Just like Puerto Rico and St. Thomas and St. John and St. Croix. So that is a cool thing about the Hawaiian Airlines. So that's the one that everybody misses, because out of sight, out of mind. But they're doing really well. There's lots of people in Hawaii, lots of people on the West Coast that use them. And if you're flying, if you want to have a really, really long flight within the United States, then the flight time is like 8.5 hours, might be a little more. Let me look that up, and I will let you know really quickly. I actually have a thing on my website, passrider.com, that has information on Hawaiian Airlines. It tells you about longest flights in US. And let's see. It is, let me tell you how long that flight is. There we go. So that particular flight is 11 hours and 15 minutes. Now, Houston, London is 8.5 hours. So that flight is longer than flying Houston in the United States. Now, one of the things about aviation is typically when you go to another country, you need to have international documents. But there are a lot of flights that, like this one, where you've flown over water, you've flown 11 hours, but you don't need a visa. Probably should do an article about that, because one of those is like France have a lot of territories that are overseas territories. So basically, if you're flying from Papeete to Paris, it goes into Orly. You do not need a thing because it's a French territory. If you're flying from, say, Martinique to Orly, you don't need documentation because it's a French territory. Now, if you're not French, you will need documentation when you get to Martinique. But once you're in Martinique, you are now in French territory. So now you're taking a domestic flight from Martinique to Paris. Same thing for Guadeloupe, same thing for French Guyana. And so it's interesting with these territories that are around the world. But I'm digressing again. So Mr. Airline is Hawaiian and Alaska, because no one really knows about those airlines typically. So if you knew the answer, let me know. This is Kerwin, New Travel Talk. Talk to you soon. Oh, by the way, the airport behind me, this is Los Angeles. This is a new Bradley terminal. That Bradley used to be just international, but they expanded, and there's this beautiful part of the terminal. It takes forever to get there. So if you have a gate leaving from Bradley, give yourself like half an hour extra just to get out to your gate. It's a beautiful area, but it's really far to get to. And there's like a tunnel or something you walk on to get out there. So that's what's behind me. This is Kerwin with Travel Talk. Have a great day. We'll talk soon.